Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Selectmen regular meeting at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, January 9th. Item 1 on the agenda is the Woodbridge Board of Education. Superintendent Bob Gilbert, please join us. Good evening. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me every month. Is my microphone working, Sheila? Oh, it sounds like it is.
Yes, I see
Okay,
the
well,
lights.
good. Thanks. Well, good evening and Happy New Year to everyone. My report is fairly short tonight. Hope that's okay, but we had a vacation week and a half in between the last meeting, so there's fewer things to report about. I usually start with our enrollment, and I'll just say that our enrollment Beecher has continued to hold strong. Right now we're at 845 students. Most classrooms are at the high end of our class size guidelines, and 12 of our classes exceed the class size guidelines by usually about one student. We have not had a Board of Education Finance Subcommittee meeting since the last time I updated you in December here. You might remember at that time I indicated that our special education deficit was down ever so slightly from 103K to 99K. That was due to some changes in out-of-district programs and transportation, and also to the town's reduction of the $50,000 in our budget last May. At that time, also in December, I reported that our total deficit was up slightly, up to 217K. Now this combines the special education deficit plus the unanticipated costs from the summer comprehensive cleaning due to the high humidity, as well as costs that were associated with the pool repairs, cleaning and parts, and also the Van Zelm engineering study of our HVAC system. We are continuing to closely monitor the special education areas and costs. This, as you know from past reports, this is an area that can frequently and sometimes have costly changes due to changes in services for students that are mandated by IEPs, also changes in transportation for students who are out of district, as well as for students who are coming into district or students who are leaving the district. So we'll continue to closely monitor that and report that on a monthly basis. A facilities update, and just to again bring up to date, you may have heard this already, the ad hoc building committee did meet prior to the December break, and we're planning on bringing a report and recommendations to the combined boards of Selectmen and Finance on January 29th. So that will be an opportunity for us to hopefully bring some closure to the committee's work. That's the committee's hope, and also to bring the low-cost options of some remedies to your attention for some action. In regards to our safe and caring learning environment, you might remember that I mentioned last time that Beecher has a relationship with the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. We'd already planned a program for our sixth graders this year, which is consistent with past years, and in light of the recent concerns that took place at Amity about a month ago, we had decided to accelerate and widen these efforts and expand this to both parents as well as to add students programs for grades 4 and 5. ADL only starts at grade 4. They don't do any programs directly to students below grade 4. Last night at Beecher in the library, we provided an opportunity for a parent evening. Anti-Defamation League presenter was there, and this was offered as part of my series of Superintendent Academies that is in partnership with the PTO. The Anti-Defamation League provided information on what the program for our students will be for the 6th graders, 5th graders, and 4th graders that are coming up this month. There was also an opportunity for our school administrators to provide some information as to the various initiatives that we take part in and initiate for our Safe School Climate Plan. There was also an opportunity for some open discourse and questions and answers. It was a really good evening. There was about 29 adults there. This was made up of parents, teachers, administrators, and Board of Education members. And everybody seemed to be very appreciative of the information and the opportunity to dialogue in this area. So that was last night, and that concludes my report. I have nothing else to bring to you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Usually you give us an indication as to where we are with budget. I didn't hear that.
So we'll be bringing the budget to you on January 29th. We did present it to the Board of Education at their December meeting. The board did unanimously approve the budget. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into right now, or if you want to wait for.
I was referring to this year's budget.
Oh, this year's. So this year's is strictly. I have nothing more updating except to say that what you heard in December is where we are right now. That whole aspect of we're up to about $217K again. Special education, unexpected costs, the $50,000 from the budget change, reduction, I should say, back at last May's town meeting. And then a lot of the costs of that 217 are really the comprehensive cleaning from the summer problems and also the pool issues and all of those areas to be rectified. So that's where we are. Really unchanged. We have another finance meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, and at that meeting we'll, there's always some changes, and we'll bring that to you next month.
Thank you.
You said you were going to be monitoring the special education program. To what end what will you be looking at there?
So, it's not like we're starting to monitor now. I probably should clarify that's something we're always doing. We're always being very careful about that. Some of the things we really try to do when students may enter the district and have special needs in the building or outside the building is to look at cost savings measures. So if a student was to enter the district, a family was to enter the district, let's say, and the student, their individual education plan, which is a legally binding document, called for them to have an education that's based outside of the school in a more costly environment. First of all, we'll send our special ed director to that child's school where they are currently, just to determine and to see what they're doing. Can we replicate that in the school at a lower cost? Can we? And if we can, we would do that. If we can't, then we take measures to see outside in the various facilities in this area, what are our options, what are the costs, and also sometimes how can we combine transportation if we can to save money. So sometimes we may send a student to the same facility as another student's going from Woodbridge. We can combine transportation or combine it with Amity if there's a student from Amity going to that facility. So there's a lot of things. Those are just one dimension of how we kind of monitor and try to stay on top of the efficiency aspect of all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you soon.
Thank you. Looks like you have a short agenda tonight, so I hope it comes
You never know.
to fruition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda is the first selectmen's report, and I will be a little bit longer than usual because I got to congratulate how much we've done. This is our first Board of Selectmen meeting of the new year, and before I begin, I want to extend wishes to all of you and members of the public for a happy and healthy new year 2019. January is a good time to look back over the past year to review some of the highlights we as a board have accomplished. Some grant-funded projects include Phase 1 of the animal shelter renovation is rapidly concluding and should be finishing up by late January, early February. This long-needed project was made possible by a generous donation from One Big Dog Animal Respite Fund, a local charitable organization that supports our regional no-kill animal shelter. As you drive along Center Road, you may have noticed the police department carport and radio antenna installation are both expected to be completed soon. This project was funded by a state small town economic assistance program, also known as STEEP grant. Our progress on improvements at the senior center are well underway. With grant funding from the state's Small Cities program, we're constructing a new handicapped accessible bathroom and a ramp to make access to this level of the center building more welcoming to our seniors. And as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, we are also wrapping up another grant-funded project to improve the sound system here in Town Hall's main meeting room. Sheila's going to have more details, but it's working so far so well in her report. Additional major projects, we have made significant progress moving forward as a board include our project to upgrade the emergency simulcast radio system, which was authorized by voters at a special town meeting in December 2017. This is also making good progress and should be completed soon. During 2018, we completed an LED streetlight upgrade with the assistance of the United Illuminating Company. This project is saving money and helping our environment by allowing our town to be more energy efficient. And lastly, I'll mention a few other big initiatives that we are moving forward on as the Board of Selectmen. We came to consensus on a location for the dog park. We're waiting word on the results of private fundraising efforts that will be required to move the project forward. Hopefully that will be soon. With the planning in late autumn of Arden's Garden at the entrance of the town green opposite Town Hall, we've begun to beautify the town center We've put together a comprehensive beautification plan to guide additional public and private partnerships that will allow residents to contribute to enhancements in this area. That form is now available to review on the town website, and Betsy will have more details in her report tonight on that. The Board of Selectmen also came to consensus on a plan for the shared use of space in the old firehouse. As work on this renovation project continues in 2019, the town will again benefit from steep grant funds. Lastly, with regard to the former country club property, we also made progress in 2018. The board was guided by our public opinion poll last spring, as well as additional public input, including at our special town meeting, Board of Selectmen meeting, on December 17th. With all this in mind, we have received and shared with the public a total of 4 proposals for possible future uses of this parcel. We look forward to continuing consideration, and we will look up to set a meeting date soon to discuss next steps. Regarding the budgeting process, as always, in January, our town's annual budget setting process for the next fiscal year is in full swing. Looking ahead to the end of this month in a series of meetings, as January concludes, our board and the Board of Finance will jointly take a careful look at each and every operating budget request to be sure we are balancing the needs of town government with the reality of our bottom line, so we minimize the impact on our mill rate. I thank you all for your hard work and efforts on behalf of the town over the past year. And with that, I will move to number 3, Liaison Reports. David, start this end this time.
Excuse me, I have a Human Services report. Human Services is sending a letter of transmittal with details and changes in the operating, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Changes in the operating budget for fiscal 2019-2020 with a net reduction of $808. Listed in the savings is an allocation of $3,985 from the town of Bethany for their share of the youth evening and after-school programs in which they participate. Woodbridge Human Services has raised $59,000 through grants and fundraising efforts. Kudos to them. Truancy program. Bridges of Milford is starting an 8-week program, an anxiety and school avoidance support group for Amity High School students. They have 8 students enrolled. Each town will be paying its share of the tuition, which is $270 per student. Vaping. Students at the middle and high school have been known to be using nicotine vaping devices surreptitiously in classes and on the school buses. These devices are capable of delivering very high doses of nicotine equivalent to a full pack of 20 cigarettes. Tricia Dahl, who's a researcher at Yale with an interest in the health risks of vaping, will be conducting a vaping awareness program on February 4th for students and faculty. Center programs include an emergency preparedness program for seniors, which was presented, diabetes prevention and income tax preparation. Those are 2 separate programs. The Meeting House Cafe will be having a grand opening February 11th, and you talked about the center bathroom project, which should be completed on the 19th of January, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mika?
There was we met briefly the rec commission met briefly more to discuss the budget. They didn't have a quorum, so they were not able to be, I was not able to make the subsequent meeting this past week, and the EDC did not meet last month. So I have nothing, and I was not able to make the GATV meeting. But I will say that the rec commission is working hard to do whatever they can to make sure that they don't increase their budget, keep it the same or bring it down. And I think so far all indications are we'll be successful at that.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you. The town Plan and Zoning meeting met this week on Monday, January 7th. The agenda was basically dedicated to the technical review of the proposed regulations, which they reviewed extensively. The Police Commission met last night, January 8th. They swore in an additional officer, Michael Mastro-Pietro. So there's one more to go, and they are in the process of having complete numbers in regards to their staffing. In regards to the financial report, halfway, they're on target, and they look forward to, again, repeating what they did last year of meeting their budget guidelines. The activity report's on par with previous year. The report of the chief of police, he reiterated to the commission that, remember, that their agency is a 24/7, 365 agency, and so that has to be taken into consideration with any of their requests. Their program and updating their IT with Amity continues to be enhanced, and the Amity Memorandum of Understanding in regards to the resource officer is continued to be reviewed, and any difference they will make according adjustments. The dispatch update, the technical part of it, is a work in progress. There is a officer on family medical leave, and they expect that him to come back to work within 6 to 8 weeks. The commission approved the operating budget unanimously. There was some concern expressed on the overtime issue, but the chief said they will continue to work on that because there are unknown situations that occur, like last year, and which they have no way to plan for. And that concluded the meeting of the police commission.
Thank you. Terry?
I went to the December Amity Board of Ed on the 10th, but I reported it on the 11th, and they haven't had a meeting since. The next one is next week on the 14th. And then the Woodbridge Board of Ed, Bob summarized.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is public comments at 6, so we'll just keep going to item 5. Administrative officer / director of finance report. Tony.
Thank you. The first thing I want to mention is that we've handed out the audit for the fiscal year of 2018. That you should have that, a copy of that, along with the state single audit report, which is basically a grant report. So our auditor, Scott Bassett, will be here on the 22nd at 6 o'clock to address both boards, and we'll review the audit and take any questions that you may have about it. So if you have any questions now, I can certainly answer them. Otherwise, we can discuss it when Scott comes, and you can ask any questions you like of him. Okay. On our monthly financial report, we have a budgetary surplus of about $860,000, which increases our fund balance by $460,000 to about $6.2 million, which is 12.5% of our budget. You'll note that's a significant increase from the prior month, and I will get into why that is. First, on revenues, our interest income, and I did a little summary chart here on the page so you can sort of follow somewhat easily all of the adjustments. I thought maybe that would be a little helpful to do that, instead of reading through and trying to sort of. So the first is our interest income. It's about $120,000 surplus there. So these are the surpluses and or deficits that may exist in each of these categories. That's what these numbers represent. The intergovernmental revenues projected surplus about $142,000. That's mainly due to a increase of the stabilization grant of $75,000 over budget and $66,000 in ECS funds. So that's those two grants sort of are the reason why we have an increase in that account. Charge for services is a deficit of $62,000. The $62,000 deficit is primarily due to the shortfall of the $83,000 in revenues due to the closure of the outdoor pool. So that's the main source of the. There's a few surpluses in a few accounts which lessen that by about $20,000. The big add this year is the other revenues, which is a surplus of $765,000, And that's mainly because we received the surplus funds from Amity, which is $981,853. So in this projection, I did reduce that amount by $220,000 because that's how much we have in this year's budget for Amity surplus funds. And so I'm assuming that your town will want to at least contribute that much to next year's budget so that we don't have a deficit in that account, which is why it drops the amount available to $761. Okay. And expenses, there's a $40,000 surplus in finance due to the elimination of the payroll position, payroll clerk. The library is projected to generate a surplus of $15,000 due to the elimination of a part-time bookkeeper position. Waste management has a projected deficit of $20,000. We are moving forward with the scale, and so we hope to have the scale in at the transfer station and generate additional revenue there to hope to offset that in addition to those funds. The Woodbridge Outdoor Pool has a surplus in expenses of $49,000 because, again, the pool was closed. So that means that results in a net operational loss of $34,000. So essentially you take the $83,000 in revenues deficit and a $49,000 surplus in expenses, and the result is $34,000. Benefits are projected at this point to have a surplus of $30,000, the elimination of the two positions that were mentioned previously. And finally, as Bob indicated, the Woodbridge Board of Education is a deficit of $217,000. So if you add all those together, it's about $860,000. Okay? Any questions or?
Moving on to funding requests. Let's see, there's only one, right?
Actually, I have a an ad for tonight, something to add to the agenda that will, it also contains a funding request. So.
Okay, do you want us to do that first before the
Sure.
first one?
If you
Okay.
could, that would be great.
So I think we have to make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
It's-
so tell me what it is.
I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, I'm
We'll
gonna
make
hand
that
it out
motion.
first. It just came
Okay.
in today, and we sort of wanted it. We've been trying to get this information for some time, and so we really want. And it's the a change order for the ramp for the senior center. Oh, I got 3 of these, and yeah, no, I've got another here. There it is. And one.
What happened?
I tapped it.
Oh, you tapped the, oh my gosh. Okay, thank you. These all the same?
Yeah, they're all the same. We can just hand them
Anyone
out.
else need another one? We're not gonna hit it, I promise, but I didn't do it. She's suffering down there. Anybody else need these? There's 3 of them. Don't hit anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So, in constructing the ramp, as we've discussed at previous meetings, there's been a holdup on the ramp. What's that? Oh, you gotta make the motion, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, right. So I will make a motion that we add to the agenda, what would you call it, a change order from, regarding the ramp addition to the Woodbridge Senior Center,
I'll second.
for discussion and possible action, I
Correct,
guess.
yeah.
Okay. And you'll second it. Any questions on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So now it's been added to the agenda, so
Thank
take
you.
it away.
Okay. So, when there's been a delay in the ramp portion of the project. There's been some discussion, I'm sure, David, at the meeting. And the reason is because there was a drainage pipe that was discovered when the construction began and the excavation began for the ramp. It goes right along the side of the building. And so there was a lot of discussion, and it's a storm drain for the building, for the roof. It's quite extensive, and it runs right along that side of the wall. And so there was a lot of discussion on should we relocate the drain pipe? There's a number of ways that the engineer looked at it. And the result was to actually push the ramp out. That was basically the cheapest way to, and the most effective way to do this, is to essentially move the ramp out slightly, so it's not right up against the wall of the building, but a little further out to accommodate the drain pipe. And so that results in this change order, which is $18,000, is to accommodate that change in the project. Without, we cannot proceed. And so that's our request.
So that leads us to this request, and
If that's
we have a,
Then there's a funding request we'll do to fund it.
okay.
This just increases the contract for the project.
And the money will come from,
There's a few, there's
Contingency?
three projects that were completed in the capital account that will take the funds from.
so is it a line item transfer?
Line item transfer,
Line item
correct.
transfer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
Anybody have any questions on this part of it? Okay, so now we want to do the line item transfer.
So now you can,
correct?
if you want to approve this change order.
Okay.
Change
Oh,
order
okay,
first.
sorry. I'll make a motion that we approve the change order to the document G701-2001 as discussed and listed and in our packets, to revise the ramp layout to accommodate unforeseen drain piping. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that enough?
It's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then related
So now
to
we can
this, have
proceed
to
with
do a
the,
change
yeah,
order.
there's two funding requests. You can do both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. That's the new funding request.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doing it sideways, and I guess one
Here,
down to
got an extra.
Jerry here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
So before we discuss it, do you want me to make the motion to approve it, and then we'll have discussion after that?
Let's
Just
see,
to
this
get the
is,
ball rolling, or you
I-
want to talk
what I
about it
would-
first?
What I would say is, in the agenda, we have, there's another funding request in here, is there not?
yes,
There is.
Yeah, so we do that one, let's do that one first,
Okay.
so we can do them in order.
1809.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you have in your packet, line item transfer number 1819-09 in the amount of $7,000. Transfer, there's a memo from, I think Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen, yeah.
Yep, in your packet, which hopefully you've read, related to the line item transfer, and it's needed to fund the senior center luncheon program meals through June 30th, 2019, not 3019. That's a long time, 1,000 years. And as I said, there's a memo attached to this. So to move forward, I'll get discussion going. I will make a motion that we approve line item transfer 1819-09 in the amount of $7,000 coming from part-time all other. It's within the department's budget. Part-time all other to general professional services, both within human services. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Joe. Discussion, questions?
just background, what's?
we did this one previously, we did one at the beginning of the year, and basically, when this program was created, there was the elimination of the salary for the person who used to run the kitchen. So there's nobody, that's where the money's transferred from. And it's transferred to the professional service, because it's now a service.
I understand.
So it's gone from a salary to a service, yeah. So she funded it through what we thought was going to be the first 6 months for, it was a pilot or program, but because of the project construction, it was delayed, and so this funds it through the rest of the year.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then funding request 1819-10 in the amount of $17,462.
Right.
That we discussed to revise the senior center ramp layout to accommodate an unforeseen drain pipe storm. I'll make a motion to such. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions on this item?
Just trying to understand the 24th.
Yep.
If you could just-
Sure. The spreadsheet here? Yeah. So,
So the money's coming from the,
if you look at the funding request here, I mean, I should say line item transfer. Here are the three projects that it's coming from
okay.
on the side there. So these are projects that are long since, or some are short-term, some are long-term. It's funds that are not necessary.
SX funds,
Excess funds,
there
correct.
that we're using.
Correct, yep. And so, but the contingency account, you'll see it on the spreadsheet, which starts at 185,000, it's got 153 left. We sort of highlight that on here so that you can see how much is left in contingency.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. So it gives you the balance.
153,720?
Correct.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Just so you can
Okay.
keep an eye on that as we go throughout the year.
Not going to say
But
it
we
about
didn't use
whether.
contingency for
We
this.
did not, no.
So isn't there just a difference between the 17,462 and the 18,000?
Yeah, the budget has like $500 left in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good catch though.
I didn't trust you. I figured you knew where it was, somewhere.
Yeah, he knows every penny. Okay, any other discussion on that? We already made the motion and seconded, correct? So, who did it?
I don't know, I can't tell, it's just a boom.
Wasn't me.
I mean,
Don't trust anything.
I'm not blaming anybody, just
Okay.
be careful.
Okay,
Don't wear the headphones anymore.
sheesh. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. No other?
Nope, that's
No
it.
other. Okay, fabulous. Moving on to item 6, Personnel Committee. Let's see.
I didn't bring the, want to go get the packet.
Yeah, we probably should. We had a Personnel Committee meeting this afternoon, and we left the packet in the other room, so we'll be right back. Couple seconds.
Maybe we should get those little foam covers for these things. So we keep whacking.
It's the bottoms.
It's the bottom?
Every time you scrape it on the table.
Moving this on the table?
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe we could add felt in the future.
little pads,
Yes.
mouse pads.
Yeah, we're felt right on the bottom. We're getting all the bugs.
Great.
I have these two for folks that are not in the
Yeah.
personnel committee.
Great.
Pass that on to John.
So this afternoon, the Personnel Committee met at 4:30 this afternoon, and
She has one.
Head of Library, Eric Worthman, was in to discuss changing a position. It was taking the library head of there's an opening in the library head of circulation position.
Right.
And Amy Glick is now the assistant.
Correct.
Right. And you want to take it from
Sure,
there?
yeah. So,
You took the
the
minutes.
recommendation of the library director is to promote Amy to the head of library circulation, and then eliminate the full-time position in the budget for the assistant's position and fill that with part-time individuals, so that can save money on the benefits for the position. And so that was what was voted on by the personnel committee.
It was a unanimous vote to do this.
Yeah.
And beginning tomorrow morning, if we approve it
If you
tonight.
approve it tonight, right.
So, David, do you want to make a motion, or would you like me to? To
can
approve
make
this? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring of Amy
Promotion.
Klavino Glick
Yeah.
for promotion from Assistant Head of Circulation to Head of Circulation beginning tomorrow. Is there a second?
Second, replace your position with part-time.
We don't,
Part-time.
yeah, we don't, yeah, typically the library commission will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Administrative Officer's Report. Betsy?
I have three quick items to share with you. As Beth mentioned, we are moving forward with doing what we can to implement the Town Center Campus Beautification Plan. And step one is to start promoting our tree donation program and the Memorial Bench program. And the Memorial Bench form is already online. The tree one will be online shortly, but as Joe mentioned at the last meeting, it's a little difficult to start getting firm commitments from anybody right now because we won't have pricing for the trees that we're asking for until spring when the nurseries have stock in again. So we're at least going to be starting to get the word out to people to know that this is an opportunity, but I can't give anybody any specific pricing, which probably makes it hard to make that commitment. The other thing I wanted to let you know about is the trail survey that we talked about last month. That is on the town website now. And we've had about 50 responses so far. And overwhelmingly, people are really positive about the trails. I've heard some really nice comments from people who are very happy that they're here and something that they really enjoy using. And just to give you a quick snapshot of a couple things that I've learned, 31% of the respondents so far say they use the trails more than once a week. The four most popular trails are Alice Newton, Fitzgerald, Racebrook Track, and Eldersley. And 90% of the respondents so far say that they'd be willing to help out on a volunteer cleanup day. So that's very exciting news. So I'm planning to keep the survey up for a few more months to try and get a broader diversity of answers from people. And I will continue to report back on you on what we hear and use the information to help shape a plan to help us maintain and manage and promote our trail system. Lastly, I wanted to let you all know the Community Council is working on a small series of winter events, and they'll be focused on celebrating diversity. The first one is on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it'll be at the JCC. It's a children's event. They have a daycare camp for students whose parents work but the kids are out of school, and it's focused on a book called Soulful Sydney. It's a children's book, and the author is a Connecticut resident. She's a child. I think she's in Danbury, maybe, and she'll be at the JCC to read the book with the kids who come to the event. And they'll also be doing a craft to donate to local families in need. So it sounds like it's going to be a really nice event. As a companion to that, in February, they will be doing a book reading and discussion of the Ta-Nehisi Coates book, Between the World and Me. And the library is just now getting in lots of extra books for people who are interested in the topic and want to read the book to participate in the discussion. That's on February 26th. And that same week, February 28th, the library is hosting a film screening called I Am Not Your Negro. And it's a documentary about James Baldwin. And that was an Academy Award nominee in 2016, I think it was. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard good things about it. So that's what they'll be doing this winter. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Item 8 on the agenda. Whoops.
Did you mention how you were doing in terms of the single map for all the trails and how they connect?
Oh, yes. So I am working on a map to bring, to combine all of the individual trail maps that we have. And that's part of the plan that I'm working on. And the idea is that unless you just innately know that Trail A connects to Trail B, you might think that we have a lot of standalone, isolated trails, when in fact we have a really complex and robust trail system in town. So I'm working with Scrog, which has the GIS data for all of our maps, and they're putting everything together into one single map of the town and also showing how some of our trails connect into neighboring towns, which is a really nice feature. And my hope is that, working with the EDC and getting some advice from them, we'll also be able to put other points of interest on the map, like our local retail and restaurants, and perhaps other businesses or cultural attractions. And the goal is to use the map as sort of a marketing tool. So if, for example, you're at the brewery, you might not know that very close by there's a really great trail system. Or you could also learn from the map that there are restaurants nearby that you can't see from the brewery, but you might want to visit while you're in town. So that's the goal of the map. It's really marketing a lot of the strengths of the town to people who may already be here but not know about the other things that we have here in town. So I don't know when that's going to be finished, but I'm hoping we might be able to have it ready by late spring or summer.
I was reading ahead, so I might have missed that you, how many people did you say responded to the survey?
50 so far.
Thank you.
Betsy, this may not be part of your town beautification system, but I wanted to know if you were involved and you had any information on the tree that was lost in front of the library.
The ash tree?
Yeah, the ash tree, and what's happening with that.
So I was actually just speaking with Warren about that earlier today. The tree will be removed, but right now the ground is too soft. So if they go in there to do anything with the tree now, there would be a lot of damage to the lawn. So they're waiting for the ground to freeze. And then the replacement of that tree is part of the tree donation program.
It is,
And
okay.
there's a potential donor in town that I've been talking with about that particular spot.
Great, thank you.
That's it, okay. Item 8, Communication Director and Grant Writers Report.
I'm going to hand out a little set of photos for you, and the first thing I'm going to tell you a little bit more about is this sound upgrade project that we're all experiencing here tonight. It was initiated to provide improvements to the sound system in 3 areas. 1, to record for the minutes, which is this new box here. 2 is the public address system overhead, so we're hoping the back of the room can hear us okay. Good, we're getting a thumbs up, excellent. We're going to have an ability to control that as we go along. And then lastly, for the video recording that's also taking place at the back of the room. So this came to us from, mostly from a Cable Advisory Council grant that was applied for. And we want to thank Brad Parsons, the building department crew, the Woodbridge Government Access Television Commission, and coordinator Pua Ford and her team for their help in getting this project completed. You see on the handout I gave you that it was pretty involved. It's a technical system that had to be both designed and installed. And DNR Labs is in the back of the room just monitoring here to make sure everything is going well. We'll probably tweak the system a little more. In the end, when we are completely finished and done testing, it's going to also give us the added benefit of eliminating all cords that are on the floor, because now everything is under the floor or it's up in the ceiling. And very shortly, we're going to bury this line here that you see, and we won't have other cords, and we'll eliminate trip hazards. So that's an added bonus to that. So in addition to that, we're going to be moving over our email platform. The town sends at least a monthly email out. We were using one system to send it. We're going to have some added benefits. We'll be able to have more subscribers, and we're adding to the list. And we also got a discount for being able to make a full year payment for this service, which was not offered in the other service. So we're going to move that over with the email that will go out in January. And I've also been going to each department. I'm going to make my way around to each department to most departments have their own email list, and we're going to be inviting people who are subscribed to those emails to join this larger list. So, for example, I was down in the town clerk's office today. She had a list that once we analyzed it, we realized there's about 260 email addresses that were not on our larger list. So we've invited those people to join the new list. There will always be a way to unsubscribe if anyone gets an email that they don't want to receive, but we thought we would expand as much as we can. So those are our plans for January. Look for that email shortly.
Do we have a sense for how many people are on the list that are getting information? For example, it brings up the point of your survey. I got one, my wife didn't. We both thought we were on there. I'm just wondering if...
Well, the survey email has not gone out to
the
new list. The new list, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, okay.
As part of the summary of this meeting, things that we're discussing in this meeting are going to go into the summary email. So the new system this will be the first time we're using the new system. So if you know of anyone who is not receiving it, and maybe we'll put that message in there. If you know of anyone not receiving this, please let us know and we'll subscribe them. We'll make it easier for them to subscribe, or you can forward names to us and we'll subscribe them.
Just seems like one of the common, a number of the meetings I've gone to, people have indicated they didn't know something. And it's definitely on the website, and it's definitely gone to some people. So I'm just curious if, as to how many people are actually on our list. And so we can at least reference the fact that if you're not on the list, it's only because we didn't know you wanted to be on the list.
That's right. You've identified the rationale we're using to expand the list, because we do know that some people feel that they're not getting all the communication. They may have signed up for specific things through the website, or they may be on an email list. For example, the Recreation Department has its own email list. I think the library does. We're not just going to pull all those names in, but we're going to invite all the people subscribed to those individual lists to now subscribe to this one. We'll make it easy to do that. We'll send a welcome message that will subscribe them, and then if they don't want to be, they can always.
Are we also offering the option as to how often they receive notices? Is that an option that we have?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could set it up so that you receive just a one monthly summary email.
Every week you receive one that summarizes everything or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to send too many messages because then people will
unsubscribe.
So that's the project that we're working on.
Thank you.
In addition to that, we're going to be sending out some information. Human Services shared with us that they're having that grand reopening, so we're going to send out that information for the February 11th. That'll be included in the email that goes out. And then lastly, and they also have a part-time job that they're posting, so we're going to get that word out as well. And then lastly, Betsy mentioned the trail system. We're also going to have our Complete Streets team is meeting, and we're going to do some follow-up to invite more people to take part in Complete Streets. That's a way of looking at how we get around both on streets and trails and where they connect, and how we can make some improvements. So that's another piece we're working on. That's it.
Thank you.
You got it.
Any questions for Sheila? Okay, thank you. Item 9 on our agenda is acknowledge receipt of town clerk's report. We have in your packet the December 1st, 18 through December 31st, the monthly report, and also the 6 months from July 1st, 18 through December 31st, 18. I'll make a motion, we acknowledge receipt of those reports. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10, minutes. In your packet, you have minutes from December 11th, 2018. I'll entertain the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Somebody.
Second.
Is there a second?
I got it, yep.
Thank you, Dave.
You bet.
Okay, any additions, corrections on those? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And also in your packet is the Board of Selectmen special meeting to receive proposals on development of the former country club Woodbridge property on December 17th. I'll make a motion that we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Joe. Any discussion or changes on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we have about 7 minutes. I guess we'll just take an adjournment.
Recess?
Recess, okay, for 7 minutes until 6 o'clock for public comments, because we have to hold it at 6 o'clock. So we're in recess for 7 minutes. Thank you. O'clock. We are now returning to item number 4 on our agenda after a recess, which is public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come up and comment? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you and good night.
6:01.